Hi, today there is a special topic on Lord Ganesha and one of the songs, and a very famous song for, kind of composed in his praise. And we will be talking a little bit about the history of Lord Ganesha himself and a little bit about the composition, and then we will go into the song. And when you get to the song part, you can actually sing along. I've kind of given the translation around that, but I also made it easy even for non-Sanskrit or non-Hindi speakers. They can actually follow along the composition. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. Let's get to the episode. Okay, so we are going to be talking about Lord Ganesha first, and then we will go into one of these songs, very famous song, which is composed in his praise. Now, coming to Ganesha, Ganesha is a fun god, is also one of the most popular gods now, and it's primarily it stands for remover of obstacles, and that's what Ganesha is also called Vigna Raja. Vigna means obstacles, and he is the king of it, and then he can open up doors. So obviously is the most important god in our modern lives, and so Ganesha has become more and more popular. One of the times when Ganesha's popularity increased is you can cite back to 8th century saint and scholar, a very popular personality called Adi Shankara. And Adi Shankara's life has been spectacular. Actually, I probably would do another episode just on his life. He was born in Kerala, in the state of Kerala, but then by the time he was 30, he had circled all the way to the north, to the south, many times over by foot, and he had really transformed Hindu religion, and is also is a proponent of Advaita Vedanta, a kind of a philosophy there. But he wrote so many commentaries on so many of the scriptures. He's organized many of them. In fact, the Upanishads that we follow is about 108 of them, and of which about 16 is even more popular, and that was primarily sorted or classified by Adi Shankara, and he wrote commentaries on them as well. And he wrote many poems and compositions, and one of the ones on Ganesha was this Ganesha Pancharatna, and that's what we are going to be playing later in this episode. But another thing he did was he set up missionaries on all 4 corners of India. All this just in about 30 years. And imagine, we kind of credit Alexander for having conquered so much within such a short period in his life. But I think Adi Shankara can rival Alexander more, because he's done it on foot as an individual. He has really transformed. Even today, he set up his missionaries, which are called Peetam, are still there and running. So Adi Shankara wrote this poem, and which is called Ganesha Pancharatna. We'll talk a little bit about Ganesha Pancharatna a little later. I want to finish the history on Ganesha. The next time Ganesha became a lot more popular is in around 1890s, and very interestingly, this Ganesha was typically, most festivals are celebrated privately in individual houses or in the temples, but Ganesha was celebrated in public. It's like every street corner, when during this Ganesha Chaturthi festival happens, there is a Ganesha idol in every street corner, and very creative forms of Ganesha also crop up. And this can be traced back to 1890s, when one of the freedom during the freedom movement, one of the leaders called Lokamanya Tilak, he brought it out, and this was one of the practice which was actually there in a public celebration of Ganesha during the Maratha period by Shivaji, but then later it kind of it didn't really become that such a big deal, became a more private celebration. But then during 1890s, there was a ban by the Britishers that Indians cannot congregate at one place. So he used this loophole that instead of kind of a political congregation, what if it was a religious congregation? And he brought this festival and started creating public public celebrations of Ganesha festival, and that's still continuing. Now, coming back to the Ganesha Pancharatna, this is a very short poem. It's a five verses, and each verse has 4 lines, and each line has 16 syllables. And there is every Sanskrit poem follows certain rules, and those rules are called chanda, which means a prosody, which is a meter. They all have certain rules, and typically, very broadly, either each line will have fixed number of syllables, like 16, 20, 24 syllables, or they will have fixed number of beats, and sometimes both, right? Sometimes it should have fixed beats as well as fixed number of syllables as well, and it becomes a lot more complicated. Like the first line could follow a certain rule, second line could follow another rule, and things like that. Tremendous amount of work which has gone into it, and that has actually led to a lot of math, because you have to combine different beats with different syllables, and then that means you have to do a lot of combinatory tricks there, which means there was a lot of kind of math around that. So that's about the Ganesha Pancharatna. It's a 5 verse. We're going to be listening to it now. The second part of it is that a lot of people have sung this song, but I really like this one particular rendition by classical Carnatic maestro called M S Subbalakshmi, and she again has sung so many songs, and she's considered the gold standard in terms of the Carnatic music. And we've kind of I've kind of picked her rendition, and what we will go through is that in the next 5 minutes we will see that. Typically, every composition is sung in a single raga, and a raga is nothing but a melodic framework. It also has got certain rules. When you pick a raga, it allows you, it permits you to use certain notes of the 7-note scale, and typically for a song you use one raga. But there are some songs which actually is a medley of ragas, and this is one of them, and that medley of raga is called Raga Malika. Each verse of this Ganesha Pancharatna uses a different raga, and there are 5 stanzas, so there are 5 ragas for each stanza, and you can make out from the sound of it. The way the song is structured is you will find every half sentence. I've taken half sentence, which is 8 syllable. That means 2 8s make 1 sentence. So you will see half sentence, half sentence, half sentence, half sentence. That's how the video will continue, so that we can follow along. It's a very fast song. It makes it it is a little hard, and if you skip it, particularly for people who are following it in English, so you know where the syllables are. So I gave a space between the syllables, so you can actually count them. You can see 8 syllables there. And for the first line is Sanskrit line for those who can follow Sanskrit. The second line is an English line, a transliterated English line, and the third line is the translation of it. Again, I followed the Sanskrit words and its English translation, and where possible I try to make it grammatically recognizable in English. Sometimes it may look a little off, in the sense it's not grammatically correct statement, but that's how Sanskrit is. Sanskrit, where the declinations of each subject is attached to the subject, so you can move around and still it makes sense. But whereas English, it's more like a positional. The grammar changes with the position. So anyway, you will see that as to how this thing progresses, and I hope you enjoy the song. And thanks for joining me in this. It's a beautiful song, even if you are not Hindu, even if you are not, you don't know Sanskrit, it doesn't matter. Just the sound of it is beautiful. It's a very melodic song, very fast-paced too. And maybe you can watch it once if you're not familiar with this song. You can watch it once, go back and play it again, and this time you can try to follow the song. So with that, let's get to the song. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for joining me today in this episode.
मुदा करात्त मोदकं सदा विमुक्तिसाधकं कलाधरावतंसकं विलासिलोकरक्षकं मुदाकरात्तमोदकं सदा विमुक्तिसाधकं कलाधरावतंसकं विलासिलोकरक्षकम् अनायकैकनायकं विनाशिते भदैत्यकं गताशुभाशुनाशकं नमामि तं विनायकम् अनायकैकनायकं विनाशिते भदैत्यकं गताशुभाशुनाशकं नमामि तं विनायकम् नमामि तं विनायकम् न तेतरादिभीकरं नवोदिताटभास्वरं न मत्सुरारिनिर्जरं न ताधिकापदुद्धरं न तेतरादिभीकरं नवोदिताटभास्वरं न मत्सुरारिनिर्जरं न ताधिकापदुद्धरं सुरेश्वरं निधीश्वरं गजेश्वरं गणेश्वरं महेश्वरं समाश्रये परापरं निरन्तरं परापरं निरन्तरम् समस्तलोकशङ्करं निरस्तदैत्यकुञ्जरं दरेतरोदरं वरं वरे भवक्त्रमक्षरं समस्तलोकशङ्करं निरस्तदैत्यकुञ्जरं दरेतरोदरं वरं वरे भवक्त्रमक्षरं कृपाकरं क्षमाकरं मुदाकरं यशस्करं मनस्करं नमस्कृतं नमस्करोमि भास्वरम् नमस्करोमि भास्वरम् अकिञ्चनातिमार्जनं चिरन्तनोक्तिभाजनं पुरारिपूर्वनन्दनं सुरारिगर्वचर्वणम् अकिञ्चनातिमार्जनं चिरन्तनोक्तिभाजनं पुरारिपूर्वनन्दनं सुरारिगर्वचर्वणं प्रपञ्चनाशभीषणं धनञ्जयादिभूषणं कपालदानवारणं भजे पुराणवारणं भजे पुराणवारणम् नितान्तकान्तदन्तकान्तिमन्तकान्तकात्मजम् अचिन्त्यरूपमन्तलीलमन्तराय गृन्तरं नितान्तकान्तदन्तकान्तिमन्तकान्तकात्मजम् अचिन्त्यरूपमन्तलीलमन्तराय गृन्तरं कृदन्तरे निरन्तरं वसन्तमेव योगिनां तमेकदन्तमेव तं विचिन्तयामि सन्ततं कृदन्तरे निरन्तरं वसन्तमेव योगिनां तमेकदन्तमेव तं विचिन्तयामि सन्ततम् Oh